Welcome back to Cliffside for another casted game, and you've got some gold level action that's going on here today. So on the south side in the red, we have a name I can't read as what we're going to call our English player, who's going for the early mill with a farm. So we're going to check out what they're up to in a second. And on the north side of the cliffs, we have Leeks in the orange as the Delhi Sultanate. And Leeks asked me to check out one of his games to see some of the action he's been getting up with the Delhi, and he's working really hard to push his way up to Platinum, so I'm really looking forward to seeing how he gets on today. And as English is so prolific on the ladder, this matchup is particularly interesting because the Delhi have a lot of the tools that you need to take on the English very, very effectively. They can produce lots more units very quickly. They have very strong horsemen in the Ghazi Raiders, so that's working really well. And we can see that Leeks has done really nicely here to get all of these buildings up, and then he's got all of his researchers in queue, and they're free and they take a little while to go, so that's going to start kicking in for him. If we take a little look at his scout, we can see the path that he's gone for. So he's done a really nice job straight down the center, trying to get to the back. Always good to remember that on this map in particular, around the markets, that's where a lot of the sheep spawn. So personally, I always go across to the market, or I would cut closer to there and make sure I get that, and then maybe go back round the other side. If we check over to our English friend, we can see actually he's gone for 2 scouts this time. So this is where he's now gone, and he's actually ahead of Leek Scout, so he's got all of these sheep, he's going to get the back ones, and he's done a quite a safe route round the back with his second scout getting all of the other ones that are around this market. So if we take a little look with the Fog of War off, there's still a couple that have actually been missed here, so the English player has managed to miss those just as he was running past, and then there should be some other ones scattered around the base like here in the front. And if we check out around the English one, then we'll probably find some, there we go, scattered around randomly. So this is actually one of the safe ones. You get 2 extra sheep on Cliffside, which is nice. But we can see that our English friend has gone for early wheelbarrow, so that's going to slow down his age up, especially with these 2 early farms. And he's still gathering up wood, so this is going to be a bit of a slower age up for English, which for the Delhi is really, really good news, because then it gives you more time to set up, because their age up is ever so slightly slower to start. At 2 minutes 45, that's slower than a lot of other civilizations. But we've got 4 building the Tower of Victory, which is, I think, the best choice in this matchup. It gives your infantry that increased attack speed, and that's going to give you a really good advantage against those longbows or any of those feudal units they decide to kick out. So we can see that Leeks has got a load on wood here, so we're going to be seeing some production dropped any minute, I can imagine. And if we check all of his techs, just important to remember if we switch over to his view, so this one's waiting to go, so as soon as he hits his age up, there's going to be a load of different techs that he needs to get in queue, and he definitely wants to get his lumber camp down during his age up, and then he can also get double broadaxe going immediately when it's in range of the mosque as well. So it looks like his researchers are coming in at a really decent time, and if we check back on his scout, so he's got 6 sheep, but we can see there's a load that have been dropped off over here, 8 already, and another 8 coming in, so the English player has done really well to deny the food. And against the Delhi, this is actually a really clever move, because they don't get any bonuses to their farm transition or anything like that. So the fact that they've denied all of this food means that it's going to be way harder for Leeks now to pump out all of those units. Looking at the spawn, he's actually very lucky here that he's got back berries, he's also got back deer, there's also another berry patch here that's going to be very easy to wall off. And because the Delhi Sultanate's infantry can make walls, he could just make a couple of spears and then send them out and start walling up this side as well. So this map actually is notoriously difficult to wall, but with those cheeky Delhi infantry units, you can actually get some really fun walls going and trap your opponent in the base if you're really lucky. We can see the Abbey of the King coming down just as Leeks hits feudal age, so we want to see all of these techs. We're going to hopefully see a load of techs appearing on his side here, because they are free and you want to get them in immediately. There we go, we can see them popping in now. So when I've played a bit of Delhi, it always feels like like you've got a million and one things to do as soon as you hit the next age. So we also want to be seeing, there we go, nice work here from Leaks. He's swapped it, so Sanctity's coming in, 2 minutes 30, so that's going to be at sort of the 7.5 minutes, which is a pretty good timing, and he's also putting the Scholar into his stables to start printing Ghazi with that efficient production. So that's going to work really nicely and start getting those pumping out, because now they're going to come out every 13 seconds, which is very dangerous for our English friend. If we head over now, he is still quite heavy on gold, 5 on gold, which is usually a sign of a castle age. Against Delhi, that might be particularly risky because we all know they're going to start printing those units, and it's only going to be a couple of minutes, and then those sacred sites are going to be contestable. We can see this little campfire that's come down, and maybe if we check on his side, we can actually see what vision that's giving him. So that's just keeping an eye on those berries. I think that's not giving a huge amount of value, but at least you can see when those two are being used up. But if we put the vision back on, we can see there's another campfire gone down on the backside as well. So they do actually cost wood, so when you do use them, you do want to make sure that you're getting the best value from them. But as the Abbey comes up, we've got the King in queue, and this season there has been that little nerf to the King as well, so it comes out ever so slightly slower. So this means it's going to take another 20 seconds to come in, so this is allowing Leaks to build up some of these units. The Ghazi, obviously, being able to be produced quickly is really good, but they are expensive being horsemen, so definitely wants to make sure these are being used and not give his opponent chance to mass up any units. So if we take a look at his base, he's got his lumber camp down and hasn't got these techs in queue. So as soon as you get your lumber camp down, make sure you get your double broadaxe and your forestry, because they're free. And that's the whole bonus of the Delhi. So these horsemen running around the base, I think focusing on the campfire is a little bit too much. I'd be saying that you want to go over here and give that gold a little poke, because he's starting to build that up quite nicely there. So it does look like our English friend is going for a fast castle, and with all the sheep that he's denied, that's actually going to work really well. So there is a blacksmith coming up, so we've gone for siege engineering first. Interesting choice. Okay, so it doesn't look like we're going to see a second blacksmith. You often see a lot of Delhi players going for 2 blacksmiths unless they're going super heavy aggression, because that gets all your military techs in much more quickly, because at this stage all of these techs are taking about 3 minutes, so the chances of getting all of these anytime soon, it's very low. And that's also why you don't often see siege engineering first. You often see steeled arrow, because you get so much value, especially if you're making archers, as Leek is. So we've got these units now starting to come across, and the wolf deciding to get in on a bit of the action, and we've got the King trying to find some damage, but the Ghazi are ready for him. And this is actually quite good for the Ghazi, because they get the bonus against heavy. They can actually fight this King really well, and they're faster, because horsemen are faster than knights. So this is actually, if we zoom around, that King is taking a huge amount of damage from the Ghazi, and look, they're not taking as much. So this is actually working really well for Leeks there. So it looks like we might be saying goodbye to the King. Yep, God didn't save the King in that one, and so now that free unit is down and that value is gone. We can see some infantry now building up some walls to protect the sacred site, and Leeks is doing a really good job capturing these as Sanctity has come in, so this is really nice work. But we can see the White Tower being dropped, so this is now a very dangerous position for both players. At the moment, Leeks has that military advantage, he's got lots of units, but the English are so defensive, and with that machine gun TC and with the White Tower coming up, he's got to make sure that he does some damage and doesn't let all those castle men-at-arms come out, because that's when he's going to be in real trouble. And the Ghazi, although they get the bonus against heavy, are going to really struggle against that. So at the moment he's got the military advantage, and he really needs to push it to do damage and be thinking about whether he's either going to end it now or go to the castle age, because yeah, nobody likes to see the English men-at-arms blob, that's for sure. So we've got some Ghazi at the bottom raiding, we've got a couple of units over here, and the full army reinforcements coming over now. Middle sacred site captured, so hopefully we're going to be seeing some of the other sites captured as well. If we take a little look, we've got one scholar here, Always good to remember, guys, you can also shift queue them up, so you send it here and then you hold shift and then you click the other sacred site. That's always a nice little trick. And we can see that the other scholar is actually still in the mosque or in the production building. So often when you see Delhi players hitting the age up, or hitting sanctity, you'd normally pull them out of here and send them over because you get so much passive gold from these sacred sites. But obviously he wants to get those Ghazis printing. Castle Age coming through, and he's now building some rams on the top side. These Ghazi doing a great job of idling the gold there to keep that down. And this is a really good thing you want to do when you see a fast castle coming in. If you can deny them gold, they can't get techs, they can't get castle units, and so then you're still in a really strong position. Because this now is a really defensive powerhouse where you've got the white tower, which is absolutely crazy and can basically print any unit, and you've got the TC, which also fires more. So definitely you don't want to be fighting in here because this just goes in the English's favour. We can see from the top we've got more archers coming across, so this army now is looking devastatingly strong, and some more damage coming out onto these villagers down here. No kills as of yet, but idling that gold is really making a huge difference. Still no gold here, and the veteran upgrade coming for the men-at-arms, or the Vanguard one, sorry. So because they get them in Dark Age, this actually is one of the downsides of getting Dark Age men-at-arms, that you have to upgrade them to get them to the next level. So that's definitely something you want to be careful of. These horsemen doing a really good job of idling that. No gold there, and he hasn't shifted, our English friend hasn't shifted over to any other gold. He hasn't maybe gone to one of these ones, so that's not a great position to be in, so he can't really make a huge amount of units. Getting some spears to go against the Ghazi, but with 18 archers running around, that's going to be really tough. So all these units going around, the ram going for a little holiday, hiding up in the woods. And we can see then that now he's starting to mass. The Ghazi coming in, doing a really nice little push on the gold, and that tower isn't doing it, and the villagers just getting caught there. So I don't... and also good to remember, this is something a lot of people I think often forget, including myself, is buildings don't function as walls, so this wall actually is a door. They can get straight through here because they can run around it. It's more tricky, like having houses, but they can still do that. This wall needs to be connected to the gold mine like this. They can't get through here, but they can this side. So this isn't actually closed, although it looks that way, so you've got to be really careful when you're doing that. And we can see that both sacred sites, the top and the middle, have been captured. No units going up here to wall it, so it's very open, can be decapped relatively easily, and we've got more units flooding over. So it looks like Leeks is working towards his castle age, but not skimping on his units and going for a couple of extra rams. So the ram at the bottom going to be trying to take out this tower and keep them off the gold. And really nice little catch here from Leeks. These villagers just trying to sneak out onto that gold, but a little raiding party has managed to catch them and take them out. So that's 7 villagers down now, and looking at this, that's going to really hurt the eco. And all these units being pulled across with the king, the men-at-arms, to do that. And so now this is going to be huge damage. These men-at-arms and spears are going to be able to take this on with no trouble. We can also see on this side the ram and the archers are also trying to do damage down there at the same time. Castle Agent now for Leeks, and he went for the compound of the defender, if I remember correctly, or he's going for it. There we go. The alert was the sacred timer, not the castle age. The castle age is still a little way off. So all 3 sacred sites captured. Now this is putting our English friend on a real timer, very literally, because he's got to go and decap them. None of the sites except the center one are actually blocked off, and he's finally got onto this gold. So now he's going to be able to do that. But there are really nice... Ghazi attacking deer for some reason, not sure exactly why, and running off, but okay. And so now we can see a big fight coming in here for these men-at-arms, and looking at how much damage they're doing now. This is where having that castle age tech does make such a huge difference. The archers coming in, but that's just going to tickle these men-at-arms, and they're just going to walk straight through them and absolutely melt them. So the military advantage now really starting to go down for Leeks, and these men-at-arms showing the true strength of the English army. So there's so many units, they're still doing quite a lot of damage, and let's just double check if we bring the interface back up, we can see, they haven't got the second upgrade, so they're actually not Castle Age yet. That's why they're still able to do so much damage with these Tower of the Victory archers. The ram being taken out by the villagers, but the military just constantly being hammered. All 3 sacred sites ticking now, only 8.5 minutes until that goes, and we can see these men-at-arms actually being taken. Being a bit greedy here from Leaks, going onto that TC, you don't want to fight there, especially now the White Tower's on them. Those guys are not going to survive for very long. So also the villagers getting in on the action and taking them out with their short bows. So this is where now the military numbers are looking fairly even. Leaks is in the Castle Age and he needs to get his techs in immediately. So he needs to be getting all of these in. So definitely he's going for crossbows, which is really nice. So you don't have an upgrade for those, which I think is a really clever choice. Because if you go for horsemen, then you need to spend 2.5 minutes upgrading them. The bottom sacred site now being denied by our English friend, so that's going to turn off that sacred site timer, but we really need to see, this is where he's going to be in real trouble. All that food's been used up, there's only a couple of sheep left, and these farms are actually empty, so that's actually been denied there really nicely. So this is where we need to be making sure that he's going to have to secure his food somewhere. He's got no food villagers at the minute, so no military being produced, whereas Leaks has got 30 on food. He's out on the berries, he's out on the deer, so his food eco is absolutely cooking. So just making sure where as soon all of his techs, so he still doesn't have double broad axe, and also he still doesn't have fertilization, so the level 2 one there. So as soon as he gets up, he definitely wants to get those. But the Ghazi now coming in to try and do some damage, but those spears just melting through them, and the men-at-arms there just tanking a huge amount of damage. Crossbows coming in now, firing them down, and look at these guys. So now this is where they're in real trouble. Some knights coming across, the lancers doing a huge amount of damage, and the crossbows. Don't leave him. There we go. Nice little finish up there. So he knows that they're on this gold. Hopefully he's going to come and deny that. And if we take a look over now, farms are being dropped by our English friend to try and keep his food eco going, but he's not going to be able to keep producing villagers and units, so now this 23 strong army is looking really dangerous, and this is really the problem with going Castle Age when you're being pushed so heavily. If your enemy can take advantage of that and do a huge amount of damage, with the 12 villagers they took down, your eco's just not going to be able to sustain those castle units, and Leaks was able to get to Castle Age as well. So another king come out, and I think another king going to hide in the TC away from damage. That's probably a smart move, as these crossbows were going to get through him very quickly. We can also see another contingent coming across round the front, and 2 of these sacred sites just ticking over and giving huge value to Leaks here. So this is where you really want to be sending one unit to go and deny those because of the amount of resources. A ram going to be coming down at the front again, just trying to do the push, but I think in this case being able to deny the food here is really slowing down any sort of resistance here from our English player. We can also see from the eco that the gold eco is going absolutely crazy, and the Delhi have the advantage that all of their gold can just be spent immediately on units. And there we have it. The end was in sight, and that ram was the final little knock on the door for our English friend. But let's go back to the end of the game, and we can take a little look at what both players could have done slightly differently to change the outcome. Here we are then, just before GG was called, as the final ram is being built by these Delhi crossbows. So let's zoom out, bring up the interface and give it a pause, and then we can check out what's going on. So most of the action was at the English base, so let's go and have a look at what Leaks was doing back at home. So a really nice job getting a load of different production down. If we take a little look, he's got stables, 3 archery ranges and a barracks, so that's really nice. So I think putting the scholar into his production at the beginning was actually a very good move, got them out very quickly, but I would say if you're going to do that to get your Ghazi raiders out immediately, you want to be sending them straight over to the enemy base and pressuring their gold or their wood line or something. They spent a long time defending the berries here and going for the campfires before the king was even out, so they actually could have been over there even while they were aging up, and could have caused a lot of trouble. So this spot actually was quite protected, so can't really deny that. You could have maybe hit them, but you could have got into the wood line, and the gold actually is just outside of TC range, which sometimes sometimes happens on cliffside. So definitely sending those Ghazis out earlier would have been able to do a huge amount of damage. Making sure that getting all the upgrades as the Delhi is super important, because it does make a huge difference to your eco. If you think 15% here onto this, it doesn't sound like a lot, but it really adds up, especially in the Castle Age. You'd already be working on the next upgrade as well as having forestry already. So the second you drop your first lumber camp, you want to be getting those. One thing that I often see a lot of people doing is that they will actually control group their production buildings. So and they will also control group their eco buildings as the Delhi. So they'll get a mill, they'll get the mining camp, and they'll get the lumber camp, and then as soon as they hit age up, they hit that button, or they hit their all eco button, like for example I can do here with this one, and then you've got all of these and you can quickly go and put them all through and get those in quickly. So having all of your eco buildings where you can actually click a button and just get all those techs in is a really good idea, because if we also check the blacksmith, there's a couple here that aren't in queue yet and they're still working on the first one. So definitely going for 2 blacksmiths here I think would have worked really nicely. But the fact that he was going out on the food was really good, because you don't want to be going on those early farms because that's going to slow you down massively. Obviously can't go for the boar, but the deer over here has just finished being gathered up. Also did a really good job of getting the sacred sites. I definitely would have taken 1 spearman or something and tried to wall off the top, because you can do that quite easily and slowly add in walls around all these little wood lines to cause trouble, especially on the bottom. Also, as soon as Sanctity comes in, normally what you would see is the second scholar being pulled out and going to the other sacred site, and that will just then get the gold income. But I think staying in the Feudal Age a little bit longer so he had those units and he was able to do damage even while he was in castle was a really good move, because denying this gold basically meant that he couldn't start printing units from the White Tower, and then because the English guy didn't actually start adding in farms, he ran out of food. So then he was also being denied food because there were units stopping him getting over to the deer, and he only just managed to get out onto the gold very close to the end. And then, unfortunately, our English friend spent lots of his wood on production buildings when he already had the White Tower that can print everything. So that would be my main comment, is he did super well going for 2 scouts and getting loads and loads of sheep. He used those sheep to get to Castle Age, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because English can defend very well. But when you've got all those Delhi units outside your base, especially the Ghazi, you've got to be able to make units. So instead of using all this wood, so because that's what, 300 for archery ranges, 300 for barracks, that 600 wood could have been in a load of safe farms around the TC and under the White Tower, because they're really hard to push into, and you've got 20 pop space, so you can basically just garrison everything very easily. If those had all been farms, the food eco would have been really strong. Still wouldn't have gold, so you can't get stuff, but you could still produce horsemen, you could make spearmen, you could make longbows, which are still very strong, because actually there aren't that many men-at-arms until now. There aren't even any that have come out from leaks, so actually going longbows could have really helped at this early stage. Also, if you're going to go men-at-arms, you've got to have enough to get both of the upgrades immediately, otherwise they are still just going to melt, especially to Delhi archers that have Tower of Victory. So I think if you were going to go for the White Tower, that's potentially okay, but then not securing your food up for once these sheep run out, I think that's really what turned the tide and allowed leaks to really flood in his units, as well as getting caught out here and getting a huge villager drop, being almost half. But if we look at those numbers, 12 down, that would have taken him to 38. So actually, because he ran out of food, he also wasn't able to produce villagers for a long time. So that's just increased the eco advantage for leaks there. So he did a really good job of raiding him, keeping him pinned and keeping him off those external resources, while he went out and just lived his best life and was eating venison and berries to his heart's content. So a really nice game and a good example of how you can put a stop to the English defences if you're clever and you deny the right resources. So if we come back in and check out these guys building the ram, so I hope you've enjoyed this gold game, and we're definitely going to be seeing leaks in platinum very soon. So enjoy what you're doing for the rest of the day, and I will see you very soon for some more Age of Empires action.